in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And I was outside a little bit today. I decided to go for a walk, and it's really funny because I got halfway down the back lane and my attention went straight to my feet. Kind of was thinking, oh my goodness, we're going for a long walk. Do I have the right shoes on? As I'm becoming more mature, I'm having to pay attention because I want to be that person that when I'm 80 years old, hey, when I'm 90 or 100, I would love to be that person who's still able to get outside and go for a walk, even if it's just around the block. I don't care about accessories, right? Walking stick, walking chair, motorized, right? Some of these motorized kind of wheelchairs are kind of cool. Quite a few of the people who live in this building I live in have them, and they just scoot around like anything. And so it doesn't matter how I utilize, uh, just as long as I'm able to move about. I am grateful for my good health. So if we're going to send some gratefuls out there, grateful for my good health, grateful for the serendipities and the little contributions to the joys in my life, you guys. Just in some of these simple things. It could be the smallest thing. Somebody opening the door for you when your back just is killing you, and you don't have to carry or hold on to that heavy door yourself. There's so many things that we could do for the people around us, so it's important for me to get outside to mingle a little bit. And I like mingling. I like stopping and yapping to people, that I know. And it doesn't happen all the time, but I've pretty much, since I've lived in Winnipeg, I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, if you've never come into one of my lives before. But I basically have lived in the same area the entire span that I have lived in Winnipeg, and I moved here with my family in 1980. Right, my dad was a nomad. It was no surprise that he decided to pick up and move. That wasn't the surprise. The surprise actually was that he was leaving the province of British Columbia. We're from BC, but my dad was a nomad. We've lived all over BC, from southern BC, from the islands, Bella Coola, Prince Rupert, Prince George. Oh my goodness, Dawson Creek. Just right, White Rock and Burnaby. And my grandfather, believe this or not, and I don't know if you're familiar with British Columbia at all, but my grandfather owned the entire delta. At that time when he owned it, it was marshland. My grandfather was a farmer, and he owned all that land. And his health went on him, and he ended up having to sell that land, and he sold half of it to Dairyland Dairies, and he sold the other half to Boeing. And now the Delta is an entire city. It's actually not even a city anymore. It's almost like what do you call those, subdivision of the big city? Like we have a whole bunch of little areas that have names, but at one time they were villages and stuff outside of the city. But because of cars, because of the cities expanding and growing, that things just kind of get enveloped that way. But yeah, my family came here when I was 18 years old, and I loved this province from the first day that I came here. I actually had one friend who was from Winnipeg, and I had his address, I had his phone number, and so it wasn't like I didn't know anybody. And he happened to be a good friend at the time, so it wasn't like I was going to city, not knowing anybody. And in fact, I had turned 18, so I was out of school. I had no plans, even though I promised my dad I would go back and pick up on a couple of extra courses so that legitimately I had graduated from high school. But in reality, the way the standards go between British Columbia and Manitoba when I applied to go to college, I'm only laughing because, oh my goodness, that was a joke in itself for me. And, I was studying something that was totally obsolete now. Maybe Andrew here. Yes. Hi, guys. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Owen. Maybe Andrew, you can tell me if if this is absolutely obsolete because you kind of work in this office. And I went to college for office transcription. They were kind of like they looked like calculators with numbers and letters and right. I didn't get far enough into the class to kind of catch hold to what it was that I was doing. Uh, I stayed in that class, I think, for maybe 10 days. And after 10 days, after spending like $600 on books, getting a student loan, uh, paying for half the year already, or maybe I paid for the entire year already in that. He says, Cindy, I don't think this is working for you. It was because I worked the night shift in a burger joint here in Winnipeg, a very popular. It's a staple burger place. It's owned actually by Burton Cummings. If you guys know the musician Burton Cummings from the good Guess Who, yeah, he was partnershiped in this restaurant. If actually on one of the restaurants, if you go there, they got great big showcase with all the guitars all signed and all kinds of neat things, all the pianos and stuff from when he was practicing, articles on interviews. It's really interesting. It's like a little museum when you walk in there. Okay, but not to get too off the track there. Why did I mention that burger joint? Give me a second. It'll come back to me. I was mentioning this burger joint that I was working in. It was one of my very first jobs when I came to Manitoba, and it was a really great job. I had that one for quite a while. I had in the beginning, right, my entire life being that people pleaser, being always on the edge that I was about to get trouble, that I was always clinging to my stuff. Even my friend said I was over possessive of my items. Like if something was missing, I would know it was missing right away. The only thing that's ever gone missing in this apartment here is a crystal. It was one of my favorite crystals and it disappeared. I'm still hoping it rolled underneath something, but I pulled everything out a few times, not specifically looking for the crystals, but keeping my eye open. But I have lived in places, where things just went missing all the time, right? And just stupid things, just things. And I just kind of thought, well, if they really needed it that bad, right? You always know, right? You guys got to figure out who's got access to your apartment. It's not hard to deduce who's been in your apartment. And I'm not somebody, like I said, in my hypervigilance, everything has a home. You guys, in this moment, I am looking for a box of tissues. My box of tissues that is supposed to be sitting on my dresser right here, right? Full access for me if I have to blow my nose or wipe something really quickly or something. It's supposed to be right there, and it's not there. And it's driving me crazy because every once in a while I do stop because I notice it's not there, and I'm going like, where can a box of Kleenex hide in this apartment? Where would I have taken it? Like I might have picked it up and taken it to the kitchen or the bathroom, but why would I? I don't know. I don't know what happened to it, but I will come across it in my travels for sure. Now I don't even know where I was going in that, you guys. Give me a minute just to slow down. I'm coming back from a walk. You guys, it's like 90 Fahrenheit here in Winnipeg. All week it's going to be like this. And then it's going to go back to zero, you guys, next week. But right now we've got a heat wave going on, and these big black clouds are rolling in. I don't know if we're expecting rain or not, but those definitely do look like rain clouds. Uh, yeah, not till 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, but yeah, it's a dark, hot, breezy, interesting. I like unique weather. I do. I went for a walk today. Like I said, I was walking down the back alley, and I just stopped halfway down the alley because I knew I was going for a long walk. And I says, "Okay, Cindy, are you wearing the right shoes?" And these are nice sandals. They're made in Jerusalem. They have cork in them. I scored them at work for like $5. They're like a $200 pair of sandals. They are the most comfy things ever. But with these sandals, what you do is you remove the cork, which is just sitting in a cup, right? And you replace those. So I'm going to have to look to see where I can buy them. They're a specific shoe, and they do sell the cork insoles, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do when the cork is worn down, because the cork, like even in flooring in some houses, cork is the most expensive flooring that you can possibly buy. But that's because it takes such good care of your feet. I'm not somebody who goes barefoot anywhere except in the shower. But as soon as I'm in the shower, I am back in my sandals or my right. I don't wear slippers. I usually wear sandals in the house. Well, not they're like they're like sandals, like not like the sandals I'm wearing now with the strappies and stuff, but sandals with just a sandal, right? Something like Adidas or something like that. So, and it makes it so that my weight comes off my feet. I gain it's such part of my routine right now, getting my weight off my feet, that I don't even think about it anymore. Right, the moment my feet hit the cold tile on the floor, I know, get some shoes on, Cindy. And I think that is a really good habit for me in taking care of my well-being, because that will allow me to possibly, right, go for walks when I'm 80 years old. That would be amazing. I accept and I recognize that's a luxury, but there are lots of luxuries out in the world that we can choose from. So if I got to choose a little luxury for myself, right? Having good feet, good working legs, right? That I can be able to go out for walks and enjoy Mother Nature, right to the very end, if at all possible. That would just be absolutely amazing. I'm grateful for my good health. I say it every single day, probably too many times. But in the business I am, throwing out the gratefuls is a good thing, and especially when it's honest. When just like now, when I brought up the grateful, I actually brought up the grateful because I recognized, it's just natural instinct to recognize how amazing something is, right? So yeah, I do recognize it, and I do verbally constantly send out my gratefuls. It's hard once you're in it, right? Because what you think about is realized. Where you put your focus, that's where it's going to be. I understand that. Like I said, I was that kid that would stand in front of a bathroom mirror cleaning zits. I would be that person that would always be paying attention to my hair if anything was out of place or anything. Like sometimes we get so hyper vigilant on things that it actually sucks away from our life, right? That we begin to put our attention towards things that are just not good for us. Grateful also that I mentioned it this week too. I said, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I was that kid that picked their skin, in front of the mirror. Right? And because I would have had great big craters right now in my skin. My acne was so bad, right? And the whiteheads were just infection. That to me, that was the worst of the worst, right? So I'd much rather them being all red and right taking up a cheek rather than being all white and on the verge of hitting somebody in the face with something accidentally because I put my hand on my cheek, right? As soon as I quit makeup, you guys, as soon as I quit makeup, it all cleared up. But sometimes it's just getting that rest, because I think a lot of my acne was from stress. When I would stress out, then I would get zits. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. For me, my body reacts a little bit when it comes to stress, right? I don't get headaches or anything like that, even though the heat got to me a little bit today. Almost 90 degrees. See, I even got my coffee here, went for a walk, and I went to the coffee shop, grabbed a cup of coffee, sat down, enjoyed their air conditioner. Then I left and I walked all the way back. All I wanted to do was go for a walk for coffee, and that was a good way to get out of the house for an hour and a half. I don't know, maybe 2 hours. Who knows? It was a walk. I had dedicated a part of today for going for a walk, and I tried to phone my sister Tracy, but right, she's a hard girl to get along, to get a hold of. But she is in a place in her life, right, that she's probably appreciating that time alone. That's what I'm going to assume. For me, I'd be playing it a little bit differently, right? Everybody. I would want everybody around, right? Just to have those opportunities, to have those conversations. And not because anything bad is going to happen, but it's a good reason. That's why my dad took us for Sunday drives so that we would have conversations so he could understand what was going on with his kids, with his family, especially when he went away for so long. And like sometimes he really had to catch up and read behind the lines quite often with me because quite a bit of my movement was keep your mouth shut. Right, you're going to give your dad a heart attack, don't say anything, right? So for a lot of me it was just a lot of, oh, it was good. It just like I was bored, like, right, like I because he could always tell when he came home, because I would get so overly excited to see him because he was my safe zone. Like I know I was going to get a little bit of a break for a while, right? And I would get so excited to see. He loved that energy. He loved his family, and he loved the energy that his family gave to him, right? It is interesting how we can remember things so far, right? My dad's been gone now, I think, for 40 years. I think he's gone for 40 years. My mother held on for another 25 years, but yeah, she was not the same, right? When my dad passed away, it was just like a light just went off, and she just went right into herself, and she kind of stayed that way for the rest of her life. Yeah, we only got together for birthdays again for the same reason that my dad go for Sunday drives. It's so that we could have those conversations, right? So and so's birthday, we get together, and right, you spiel out your problems and you spiel out your victories, and you right, looking for support, or looking for confirmation, or sometimes it was just a matter of right, look how well I'm doing. Sometimes it was that way. Lots of times it was just, oh, this is just a waste of time, but it was never a waste of time because it's always an opportunity, right? To have a conversation, to have a new perspective, to have a new direction in our life. Sometimes we just need somebody to say, "Oh, that's such a good idea. Go for it." Right? And where is that going to come from in our lives if not from our own families? I understand lots of families are not like that. My family was not like that. When I started YouTube, they thought it was a big waste of time. And it was so far from the truth. In actuality, I think it did something miraculous and something that was unexpected and something that it's going to serve so well, not just for me, but for my family, for my nieces, my nephews, right? My great nieces and nephews, for the line going forward, And this has definitely been a family affair, for sure it has, but kind of separate. Everybody just kind of doing their own thing in that. And I get it because we are so different. I've known that since I was a little kid. None of us, me, my sisters, my mom, my dad, we were all so different, but we picked up, right? We're kind of the radar for each other. And a lot of it was filling up gaps. And I am guilty in accepting that gap filling because I did a lot of that, right? If somebody was willing to do it for me or to help me out, right? I would always say yes in that, only because I wasn't very big on asking. But if an offer came across my path, I would be all over that. And I did live in that family where we were all kind of attuned to each other. And whether it was those conversations that we had every once in a while on birthdays or Sunday drives, whatever it was, my family is very attuned. We got each other 100%. Sometimes we pretend, right? But it's that I know that you know that I know that kind of situation. And then again, there's just that silent understanding, but there's a lot of that silent understanding, and that's part of the stuff we're supposed to break through, not to let it be so silent because, well, number one, I'm not big on turning the other cheek. Number two, I feel everything, so I would just like everything to just be right, calm and mellow and right, kumbaya, right? Not like I'm that kumbaya kind of person, but I love that atmosphere. I love that no worries, just to go about and live my life the way I want to. And this is the way sometimes I feel when I go for my walks, that I have the world for myself. Especially when I go on my trips in September, when I go on these big camping trips in September. Oh my goodness. It's like heaven to me. It's like true freedom. Like true freedom. It's a gift I give to myself where I don't think about the money unless the money is kind of petering out towards the end. I don't think about the span of how long it takes to get anywheres unless I'm really trying to get into my campground before it's too dark and I'm gonna disturb the other campers. Right? It's just fresh and connected to the earth and not connected to everything that is connected to me. I'm not connected to anything. I am on the move, and it is an amazing, amazing feeling. And the feeling that, that feeling, that's how I get it. But right? It's like Nancy and her dolls and Nancy and her train sets, or Andrew and his books and his, what do you call it, feng shui furniture, minimalist furniture kind of idea. Like we have these things that just bring us so much joy. And I would never begrudge anybody, whatever it is, that brings them that kind of joy. And what just came into my mind last night, I don't know why I was watching it. I think because in my travels, I come across a lot of marbles, and I wanted to distinguish what a good marble was and what a bad marble was, the values of the marbles and stuff. And so I watched this video of these two men that were interviewing each other, and they had a display of marbles in front of them, and they were picking up the marbles and oohing and awing about the colors and the pontoons and the age and the values, and again the ahs, and you could hear in the background it was some kind of convention or something, because you can hear other people doing their thing in the background, right? And I thought, oh my goodness, like this is the absolute passion for people. Like this is it for them. If you said their greatest joy, if they could just have one hobby that they could do their entire lives, and right, this guy says collect marbles. Right? I love marbles. I like to play with marbles. I like to go hunting for marbles. I like to frame my marbles. I like to learn about each marble. I like to yap to everybody who, right, who has an ear for it. Not necessarily they don't have an interest for it, but if they'll just listen, right? Again, that's amazing when you could do that. That's one of the reasons why I think it's important for us to have different interests and different understandings and stuff. It's so that we can. I learned this from working in the bar. It's just the idea that you can find a common interest with everybody, right? I found a common interest with the marble guys, but only because I was looking at values, just in case I happen onto some antique values. I want to know which ones were the antique marbles and their names and their values and stuff, right? What to look for. And it gave me what I needed to know. But at the same time, I sat there through this entire experience between these two guys, and I made that inquiry to myself, like, oh my goodness, like it could be anything that holds our heart. And lots of times, these joys that we have, they come from our childhood. Like metal detecting for me, you guys. I don't do a lot of metal detecting. I wish I did more. I watch metal detecting videos. I watch Stealth Diggers and Not Thursday. They're my favorite. Quarter Hoarders and the Hoover Boys. Like, right, adventure archaeology. Like I really just love to experience vicariously through somebody else's experience, because I am busy in what I'm doing in this moment. And of course, my life is worked out in the fashion that, right, my life is situated this way. And this is where I'm supposed, because of, I was meant to be off doing the bottle digging or the metal detecting and stuff. I suspect that somehow that car would be coming into my life. It is, but slowly, and there is that nervousness that I will be dipping into those funds, right? If I can't find solutions. It's right. The solutions being, right, do I really want to go back to work for somebody else? Or is this my opportunity to step out on my own, do what I want to do, right? Instead of practicing my craft, do I really want to start working in my craft? Do I really want to start working with, I don't know, clients? Right? But it's seeing that unsuredness in what I'm doing, right? I second guess myself. But that unsuredness is only there because I haven't done it before, right? no, I've done it without value, like not the payment or anything, but I've not done it as an actual paying client. And so there is that nervous there, but it's like getting a job, right? When you're a waitress, like you find your flow, you find your swing in that, right? And if you're confident in the lessons, if you're confident in the knowledge you acquired and your ability to help in a situation, then really that's where you're supposed to be. That's where you're heading anyway. That's the whole plan, right? So there's that step up that I'll be trying to make in that. And I suspect, hopefully, my nephew will give me a hand in that analytical part of it. Not my analytics. I love my analytics. I can go in there and keep that all sorted myself. And at the same time, that has to improve because I know how to improve in that. And that's only in my own, they call it imposter syndrome sometimes, right? We don't think we're as capable as possibly that we we might be or should be, and we'll second guess ourselves and we'll stall ourselves out. We just have to learn to just start where we are, right? And understand that the ideas and that movement come across my path for a reason. That idea, do I even want to go back to work for somebody? Or, right, do I want to move forward in what I'm doing? And I'm thinking, well, that's sort of kind of a no brainer, but is the possibility of making that work, is that kind of in the picture? Is that visioned there as a possibility? And again, it's in that second guessing, or maybe not even taking that look at that, because maybe there are things, right? It's always a ladder, right? I've come to learn it's just a ladder. I don't like pyramids. I don't like climbing to the top. I've done it many times in my life, right? That was the first thing I did. I get into a job, and how fast could I get to management or supervisor, right? Like how fast could I get there, because I couldn't handle the breathing on the neck. I couldn't handle the idea that I might be working for somebody with strong ideas who would probably try to imprint those ideas, right or wrong, onto me in a way just to kind of put me in my place. And that's usually where I get myself in trouble, in not turning the other cheek. I can be maneuvered in that way, but I have to be maneuvered in that way, is in a way that, oh, I agree, oh, you're 100% in that. Not, oh my goodness, yes, you're right. Okay, sorry, I'll never do it again. Right? That's just not the way I work. So I always try to work as fast as I can into getting to supervisor or manager. Okay, before I start yapping on to whatever the next topic is going to be, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee and I'm going to come back here in the comments and say hello to everybody. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having an amazing week. It hit 32 Celsius here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's going to be like that all week. It's not going to start cooling off until the weekend, and then we're going to have a week of rain. So I enjoy the rain too. Hopefully we get some lightning and thunder. That would be pretty cool. I can see the mist kind of rolling in, so I suspect that there's some rain going on in some parts of the city. I have a great big picture window in front of me. So grateful. Oh, I haven't said a grateful for my big picture window in a long time. I love my big picture window. When I lost my last apartment, that was the one thing that I was so heartbroken about, because I had the most beautiful picture window. When I looked out the window, it was like looking through a tunnel, and it was looking down a tunnel of elm trees, and it was like something out of a Connecticut postcard. It was so So beautiful. It's sad that a lot of these Dutch elms now are having to be pulled out and replaced with ash and other types of trees. But, we do have really beautiful landscapes when it comes to trees. If you ever came to Winnipeg, it would probably be the first thing that you notice when you come to the city is how many trees we have. Right? Probably why we're so tough, so outdoorsy here in Manitoba. Okay, let's come down into the comments here. Cindy, I was recently looking for a space heater. I looked and looked, and when I wasn't looking for it, I found it in the closet where some clothes had covered it. Well, I had lost it before I had lost my job in honesty. For the first 2 weeks, it was hard for me to come down, to slow down in what I was doing. I was specifically being forced to calm myself physically, emotionally, and mentally. And it was hard for me to do. But what I did do was a lot of house projects, and I just zoned out on house projects. And oh my goodness, I've cleaned out every orifice in this apartment. I've been underneath everything. I pulled everything out, dusting. It's strange. I know it's here. It's under some socks or in a cupboard or something. I probably went to wipe something, my glasses, or answer the door or something, and I took it with me. But, for me, this is why I put things where I think they should be. Like if I'm looking for them, that's where they're going to be, right? And it's not like I don't have lots of stuff there. I have stuff everywhere, and but everything has a home. So I know my box of Kleenex is not sitting in their home. When I do find my box of Kleenex, and I will, right? I'll let you guys know in the silly place that I misplaced them in. Yeah, funny. And I when I find the box, it'll probably be all squashed, or it'll be what wakes me up in the middle of the night because it caught flame because it was up against some wires or something. I'm gonna have a sip of some juice here. Oh, let's send out one more gratefulness. How's the sound, you guys? Just so I know during the course of the summer if it's going to be okay like this, because I've got my air conditioner full blast right now. Just while you guys let me know how the sound is, I'm just going to throw some gratefuls out for this air conditioner today. Didn't take long for the building to heat up. I thought it would take a couple of days for the building to match the temperature outside than it was inside. But I guess everybody had their windows open. Most of the seniors in this building and stuff, they don't have air conditioners. And if they have air conditioners, these air conditioners are not installed yet. I should put a note in the laundry room to say I would be happy. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll leave a note saying it's going to be hot this week. If you need a hand getting your air conditioner installed, I would be happy to help. There you go. It's not pretty, but I have a weekend to do list here. And, right, my weekend's almost over. But one of the chores on my weekend to do list was to check the job that I did, because this week I've had the air conditioner on, so I want to make sure that how I secured it and how it's working, and the window itself, that I don't have any air flowing in, because I don't want any hot air coming into the apartment when I'm trying to cool it down. I actually thought maybe I would put a drape up, because I remember last year that the sun hit the screen and it was difficult for me to get a good spot for my live shows. So I'm still thinking about it. It doesn't the blind I'm thinking about doesn't really go with the color scheme of my apartment, but it would be functional. And the way I say that is because my emotional well-being and my mental well-being is just as important as my physical well-being. This is what I say, so right, I'm eclectic, but I have a sense of style. Like, if I put up a blue drape in my apartment, it might go with my pictures here, but not really, because they're pinstripes and they just do not work. I know they just do not work for the style. I got them for a dining room or a bedroom or something other, right? It wasn't for my living room in any way. So for me, that would agitate. You can tell just me talking about it and explaining about it, that it's already agitating me. That, right? I don't want to add to the clutter of my apartment. I need things to go. I got a big pile of camping gear here that I've got up for sale. You guys, oh my goodness. I got a pair of coveralls. I don't know if I ever showed you guys the coveralls that I had made, and I had sewed patches up at Goodwill. We would have these sales and we could get baby clothes with patches on them for 25 cents during these sales. So that's pretty much the only place you can get these patches, because they're very expensive now. If you go on eBay or Amazon or something, you'll pay $10 or $12 just for the patches. So it's not financially feasible to make these coveralls that I made last year. If you guys remember the coveralls, I put patch. I would sit here and I'd take in my lessons, and right, and I sew my coveralls, these patches on, and I do such a good job, just solid. Might not have, right, but they look fantastic, my coveralls, and I did such a good job, and I stitched them all up by hand. I gained a few pounds. Well, not necessarily. They still fit me, not as nicely as they did when I first bought them, but they were too long for me to start with because they were for somebody taller, and I didn't want to hem them. So I just rolled up the bottoms of the pants, and they were really heavy jean. They didn't have any stretch to them, and for garden coveralls with the patches, with the idea that I had in mind, a nice light cotton coverall would have been perfect for the patches. So I wanted to try them again. But you guys, I got $100 for them. I think I paid $4 for the coveralls, and like I said, 25 cents each for the patches. All they had, I didn't miss any of my lessons. I was taking my lessons. I just sat here and I just stitched patches all over them. I need to go to business. My sister said to me today too. I says, "Oh my goodness, Alice, I got $100 for my coveralls," and she goes, "Are you kidding me?" She says, "Maybe that's what you need to do to go to business." Okay, yes. I sat here and I sewed those patches on while taking my lessons, right? Which I'm doing anyway. Each patch took me an hour and a half to put on. But I hope I took pictures of those ones. I must have taken pictures in order to post them, but sometimes I take the pictures in the app. Ooh, I hope I took pictures of my coveralls for my own prosperity. Because I was so proud. I got so many compliments on them too. But I got $100 for them. My sister said, "Oh, Cindy, there's your forte. That's the business you need to go into. You're selling the coveralls." Like I said, yes, right. It was just my time sitting here, right, taking my metal detecting videos, or my mindset videos, or documentaries, or right. Oh my goodness. But it was still an hour and a half a patch. And I covered, oh my goodness, I must have had like 20 patches on those coveralls by the time I finished. And not only did I have 20 patches on them, I remembered I covered them in buttons too. One of my customers gave me a big package of really cool buttons, and I sewed those. Oh, I miss my customers. Oh, they were like friends. My customers were like friends. And I just had this thought of the gentleman who brought me that bag of buttons. He was the one who gave me that beautiful uh, custom chocolates from that chocolatier, right? That fancy chocolate shop down on Academy Road. And he bought me that box of chocolates. And oh my goodness, right? I'm still thinking about that little Canadian flag chocolate that was in the box. They were every single one of them was like a piece of art visually. And when I popped those in my mouth, I should have really taken my time in eating that box of chocolates. I really think I think I'm seeing lightning out there and I'm missing it. Well, not like I'm missing it, but just out of my corner of my eye, I'm catching it. We'll see if I'm right now. Okay, I'm just gonna have a sip of my juice here before I go to bed. I have to make sure that I down two of those at the very least. Down two of those, and then half a bottle of water before I go to bed. I notice that when I go for these walks, and even though, right? Oh, by the way, I didn't turn around and come home and put my other sandals on, or other shoes on, or pair of runners on. I just continued walking. And within 5 minutes, I totally forgot about my feet. It was just getting started in the walk. And because the heat hit me soon as I walked out the door, plus the humidity in the air, soon as I walked out the door, that maybe that was kind of like an out. Oh, Cindy, go home, right? And I was dressed like, I'm dressed for hot weather. And but yeah, I started walking, and it was a beautiful walk. And then I stopped, had a cup of coffee, then I walked home. I made myself some dinner. I boiled some potatoes and some sausages. I fried up some sausages, had that for dinner. Right, I got my cup of coffee, and oh, but I was so good with that money, you guys. Well, I guess I could be better with that money. But I spent that money on things that I really felt like I needed for the household rather than treats for myself. Right, I had these little pastries in my cart, and they were only like $1.99, but they were little pastries that were on sale in the bakery. Strudels, that's what they were, strudels. And I love strudel. I love puff pastry. I just love anything strudel or puff pastry, pie crust. Anything from the bakery, I love, you guys. I love the bakery. I actually banned myself from the bakery last year. It worked out pretty good. I didn't go into the bakery for 2 or 3 months. I did really good on that one. Yeah, I'm not sure if I lost any weight, but I did stay out of the bakery, and then I went back to the bakery. But yeah, I had that box of pastry, and I said, Cindy, no, you don't need those. You don't need those pastries, right? If you want something to eat, you can go home and make something to eat. So what did I do? I bought a great big box of cat litter. I took my trolley to the grocery store. It's a folding dolly. I took that to the store with me, and I plucked a right lifetime supply cat litter onto it. And then I went and I got some really really nice coffee. One of my favorite coffees. I don't know if they're changing brands or if they were getting close to expiry date. Um, but they put them on sale more than half price on sale. They're usually like $15 for just a little bag like that, and they were on sale for like $7.99. I could not say no. I was out of coffee, and to be able to right buy a really nice uh, box of coffee, that was a really lovely treat. But I needed it. I needed it too, right? So it's what I feel I need. I'm trying to prioritize for myself emotionally, physically, mentally, and it seems to be doing okay because emotionally, mentally, and physically, that walk today did me so much good. I was so happy when I came home, though. When I turned around the block, I thought, oh my goodness, I felt my feet then. Oh my goodness, did I feel my feet then? I still haven't taken my sandals off, But I'm off my feet. I'm off my feet now. I'm sitting in my chair, so my sandals are comfy. Okay, let's come back into the comments here. Uh yeah, but maybe I'll find the tissue. Normal weather. But I bet you get gonna send some good cheer out. The fire truck or the paramedics get to their destination and it's a false alarm. Um, they're going really fast. That was a fast one. He just kind of zoomed right past me. So I'm assuming that one is a really big emergency. So, but like I said, hopefully they get to their destination, turn around, and just go straight back to the station. Yeah, false alarm. Okay. Um, yeah, but your storms, Kathy, oh my goodness. I would it would be hard not to have me go outside in these storms. Like, if I saw big black clouds coming rolling towards the coast, I would be walking towards the coast myself. I'd find myself a little nook on the in the cliffs and I would just sit there and I would just watch the show, feel feel the show, and I don't think I would care about getting wet or cold or anything. I am that person, but I can imagine where you live, Kathy, that you have some really crazy storms. Our storms here in Manitoba, they hit us in June, and they're usually pretty good storms, like where you're flooding the underpasses. Uh, it's always black, and we get the hail. We get sometimes if it's hot too. We get the dangers of the tornadoes and stuff. Um, but it only usually lasts for a few weeks and then that's it. We're in the heat until mid August. And then come mid August, well, that's when Cindy comes. Cindy comes alive usually because I'm in the midst of planning my trip for September. And also a lot of aspects of uh, what I like when it comes to Mother Nature is not hindered by ticks and mosquitoes, right? I don't like killing ticks and mosquitoes, but at the same time, I don't want the ticks and the mosquitoes on me, right? And because I'm such a bush baby, like if you guys would just laugh at me, right? You can't take me for a walk on a trail. You just can't because I'm scooting into the forest every every chance I get, and then I'll just pop out of the trail in front of you somewheres. That's right. I'm just that type of person when it comes to Mother Nature. But that's the excitement in me. That's the right. Those are the things that those other parts of me get pretty excited about. And I get excited. Honestly, I get excited about the Mother Nature. Even today, I was excited for my walk. And even on the walk, I was just mesmerized by everything, whether it was a storefront, the sidewalk, a couple of geese flying overhead, the types of vehicles that were passing me on the street or the people on their bikes, everything, right? With no agenda though, but just as a spectator, right? Not even necessarily as a participant because I'm just walking. If I stopped and have a conversation, mind you, I was sitting there and I stopped and I was on my phone and honk honk honk. I heard the somebody honking and then I see this great big arm fly out of a sunroof waving at me. I'm not quite sure who it is. I think I do. I sent her some good cheer because it's very sweet that she took the time and she took the risk of not bumping into a car in front of her by sticking her arm out and giving me a wave. Um, but but yeah, it's kind of sweet. I right when I'm out on these walks, it's usually me. but I do bump into people. Like I said, I have lived in this community here, and it's a pretty central, right? It's Osborne Village, it's Corden, Crescentwood, it's right, it's Fort Rouge and Fort Garry, even Fort Richmond, out in Fort Richmond stuff. I lived out there too, but just all in the same kind of area that I live in. And over the decades that I have lived in here, and being such a social person, and not necessarily, I am a social person even though you could see me dodging those interactions, because I do. I'm social in the idea that, right, I do it all the time, that it's just something that just comes naturally out of me. And also in that empathy and feeling people out, and I know I'm not just in that conversation for myself, but somebody else on the other end might be just as excited to see me as I am in seeing them, right? So I know it's important. So over the years, it's just a community, right? And I've gotten to know a lot of people in this community that I'm in. But I think for most part, it has been in the jobs that I've had, right? That I've gotten to know people, and even though we don't see each other all the time, we do bump into each other and catch up, right? And catch up. And in that span of not seeing each other, who's to say what have I've experienced or what I've learned, right, in that process, or what they have. And like me, if I'm looking for a job, and right, and I just bump into somebody and somebody says, "Oh my goodness, I'm just looking for this job," and it's just like the most perfect job for me. I say, "Thank you very much, grateful," right? And then we're back into business that way, right? But what comes across my path, that's what I'm working with. And in this moment, I'm just kind of, right? I'm leaving myself open. I'm seeing what comes across my path. I'm having those conversations, but it's not my intent. When I'm out in Mother Nature, it's usually just me and those other parts of me and Mother Nature. Oh, I actually watched a documentary today, and somebody else was actually talking about telluric energy, right? Something I already knew. I can't remember who it was. I love to give credit to whoever was talking, because it is amazing that, you know, I have no idea how come I come across these paths, but when I see these topics start popping up in the conversation, it just really flabbergasses me, because it might be something, because telluric energy is a lesson that I might have learned a couple of years ago, and now it's just becoming topic of conversation, like regular conversation right now. You guys, they think also with the pyramids, they think they figured out how they were built, and the reason they found out how they were built were from the satellites up in the sky taking pictures of the ground. They think it was all done by hydraulics. They could see pathways and old river and canals and everything that are all in that vicinity. And even though the water system isn't right there, it's known that those pyramids were built close to the shoreline. It's just that the Nile has depleted so much that, right, everything pulls away or falls into the, like there are villages that have fallen into the oceans too. They just found a Neolithic village underneath the water, and it's pretty exciting because things don't get really damaged under that way, and because it looks like it wasn't something that was gradual, it was something that filled in right away. That the potteries and stuff that are coming to the surface, it's pretty exciting stuff. Yeah. Okay, let's come back into this. Um, You read the biography of St. Frances Cabrini. She said that one of the things you need if you want to do something for good is a comfortable pair of shoes. That is so true. That's so true. I don't suffer aches or pains, but in order to sympathize with people who have aches or pains, right, that have arthritis or hip surgery or knee replacement or bad back, I sympathize in the idea that, right, a comfy pair of shoes, because I know what it's like being the cheapy person that I was, buying my shoes at Value Village or Walmart and stuff, that I always bought shoes that were so uncomfortable. So I can appreciate that pain that you have when you're concentrating on it. And so that's how I sympathize with people who are in actual physical pain, because physical pain is not something uh, I have in my life anymore. I'm just going to say anymore. Yeah, and that's a story for another day, right? And yeah, when these things come out of your life, it's amazing because it's not something that you give thought to. And so when I have these conversations and I have to stop myself and I say, wait a minute, no, there was a time when there was physical pain, but I don't think to look that far. I just go straight to the analogy of my sore feet. And that's good enough because I know that I'm concentrating on my feet. I'm not concentrating on the task at hand or the problem or my job or what somebody is saying, whether it's some good advice or if it's possibly something that will serve somebody else. Because sometimes when we are in pain, well, I'd say almost all the time when we're in pain, we're not really concentrating on anything else. That pain has our full attention, doesn't it? Right? It's the same with emotional pain. It's the same with mental pain. That's the compulsion where you just get on something, you just think on it, and, right? What you think about is realized. And I'm just gonna throw another grateful out there. Grateful that I'm not put in a position constantly of recognizing the situation, that because that is agitation, that will something that maybe I might dig into, and maybe I should be digging into that, right? Worry, it's right, there's nothing wrong with worry will keep you on top of the pile quite often, but there's an aspect of me that well, nobody likes to work, do they? But I have this idea, right? This whole situation, how it all played out. It played out the way it did for a reason, right? Can I put my direction in a way and see if that reason was for the direction that I wanted to go in, the direction that I've always been in, that I haven't swayed too far down because you guys know I like the side branches, right? But that plan has always been there. It hasn't changed since the first day it came to me, and and uh, and I'm grateful for that because lots of times it was really hard. Lots of times I felt like right, what's the point? Like how am I ever going to get to that point? Where's the backup? Where's the backup plan? What's the black backup plan? Right? And then what you think about is realize, and then lots of times it's just in those things that keep us busy, right? And I'm grateful for my YouTube channel. I'm throwing out lots of gratefuls today. I've been doing it all day. It's only because I have been recognizing the boo boos, the uncomfortables, the things that I would not prefer. And so I'm balancing, is what I'm doing, right? I'm balancing. And that's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. in that. That's right, right? Who wants to stay in that frame of mind where you're just thinking down the road where you don't want to be going, right? It's still a possibility, but as long as it's not a sure thing, thank you very much. We'll go in this direction. Let's see if this way works. Hi, Eugene. Uh, but I do like that analogy. I like that quote because it is so true. Nothing worse than being focused on something in your uncomfortableness when you have things to do, things you want to do, right? Things you dream of. And it drags you down to the point where you don't even know if it's a possibility, right? I just shoot right into the baby steps. I'm just going in the direction I want to go in, right? Because it might be one step forward, two steps back. But what if you can do two step forwards and you only go one step back, right? There's a little bit of excitement in that. Once the excitement starts, you guys, that's when everything starts. I've come to realize that, right? Okay, back into the comments. I'm doing really good. Oh, yes. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there, right? And I'm going to say it to the dads too, right? I'm going to say Happy Mother's Day to Owen, right? Because he is a caregiver. And that's what mothers are. Mothers are the nurturers. It's not really the gender, right? It is in the caregiving that mothers are recognized in what they contribute. So yeah, for all of you guys, happy Mother's Day. I said today, all the ladies were outside. I had to go take the coveralls downstairs for the girl to try on, and everybody was outside because it was so hot, and obviously nobody's got their air conditioners in yet, and they were all outside, and I wished everybody a happy Mother's Day. They wished me the same. And I don't have kids, but I'll take it anyway, right? Because sometimes I do feel like a mom. It's a good place for me. It's where I fit in. It's where I thrive. It's where I shine, right? And it's where I come to enjoy and appreciate. And, lots of people don't like that. Lots of that, they'll go into that and they'll go, oh, it's slavery. It's drudgery. It's mean. No, it's just getting stuff done that needs to be done. And if whoever is capable of getting that done, it's like that village we all have, right? Right? Andrew will have the library. Cindy will be baking bread in the kitchen. Nancy will be working in the garden. Oh, sorry, not Nancy. Kathy will be working in the garden. What would Nancy do for us? She would make us laugh. Nancy would just make us laugh 100% listening to that woman. She grumbles 75% of the time, but you got to kind of appreciate the way she grumbles. There is a sense of humor in that. Yeah, pretty amazing that she got her birth certificate, wasn't it? That was something she was been shooting for her entire life, and she's well into her 40s. That's something that was very difficult for her to achieve, and so I'm absolutely just amazed. And if nothing else about Donald Trump coming into office for good, right? I think Nancy's got to throw a little gratefulness out Donald Trump's way just so that, right? Just to appreciate getting that birth certificate done because even she said she did it because he made her nervous. So she needed to get that certificate somehow. Yeah. So we can look at the catastrophes and the little hiccups in our lives and right. And we can look at them as tragedies and bad people, but in the end, right? What did we learn out of that? What did we get out of that? Right? And you can learn as much from the people that are not good as you can learn, right? Uh, Actually, even Donald Trump, I do the top 10 videos, right? So lots of times there are leaders out there that opinions and how people should live or what they contribute or what they don't contribute, that everything is such a stir the pot kind of thing. And, I remember that I had to find a lesson in something that he was spewing about. And I learned so much about Donald Trump. And, I learned good things about that man. I learned that he saved New York, that he bought up all the abandoned buildings, that he saved the banks. He gave the banks money to save the banks because there was a big recession, and he actually saved the city, and they turned all these old buildings into condos and apartment buildings and casinos or whatever he did with them, and he brought the city back to life. And they grumble about the guy, but you know when you say those kind of things, you got to appreciate that maybe he's done some good too. Even his ex-wife, I don't know if you guys remember Ivanka Trump, Trump, the very first wife. And she's online. She does like TikTok videos and stuff. And she comes online and she gets interviewed quite often. And she says amazing things about Donald Trump, and she took him for millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? But she said, agreed that he was a very good father. He brought the kids up exactly the way she wanted those kids to be brought up. It was always in agreement and in conversations where these decisions were made. And she said that he was a very good man. The only reason that they divorced was the fact that he was a Philan, Philan, he cheated on his wife, right? That he cheated on his wife, and that was disrespectful, and it is disrespectful in that, yeah. And these are things that have been going on for ages, ages, ages. But when you have that kind of investment in family, right, you gotta kind of stick with it. This is the way I think, right? I come from that mentality, like, where the geese have, what do they call that? Where they only have one partner, monogamous. Like they're monogamous. They don't, right? Once that partner is gone, then they're gone too, or they live their lives for the rest of their lives by themselves. And I believe that there's one partner for everybody, but just the way the world has moved in its choices, it's now become a choice whether to stay married or not. I know a lot of my audience hasn't even gone down that route of marriage. But are relationships are important. They are very, very important. But depending on the experiences we had in those relationships in our lives, it's gonna reframe the way we think about them, right? And I am very grateful that I have lots of good memories from my marriage, that the way we broke up was very kind and very considerate towards each other for the most part. Saying most part, right? I was very hurt, and but I did the very best that I could, not to take it personally, because it's such a personal thing, isn't it? Marriage is falling apart. Oh, I guess that fire truck was for across the street. Or maybe it's not. It's just somebody wearing a fire jacket. He's going to get in trouble because you're not allowed to do that. Yeah, because he's wearing a pair of jeans, but he's wearing a fireman's jacket over the jeans. So I think he's not a fireman, and I don't think he's really allowed to do that. I know when I worked at the thrift store, we weren't allowed to put clothes out that were from the police or the postal office or the Manitoba Hydro, like the electricity companies and stuff, because these are ways that people use to sneak into other people's houses to say, "Oh, I'm the hydro man, right? I've come to check your meter," or right, "I'm here to fix the cable vision," or "I'm here to fix the phone." We never allowed those things, and we spotted them on the floor. We right away we just get rid of them. We didn't even donate them to Africa. We just threw them away right away because that's what people did with these things. So I do think it's probably not even legal to wear them. I don't even see people wearing real fireman equipment or real police uniforms on Halloween, where the dads would let the kids wear them and stuff. I'm pretty certain that you're not allowed to wear them. But right? His choice. His choice. Thank you for letting me know, Kathy. I'm going to leave my air conditioner is on now. It's on very high at the lowest temperature. I will turn it off in September when I go on my trip. My sister bought a brand new car. I'm going to rent her car for a week. I'll give her $1,000 or something, right? I'll rent her car for a week, and I'm going to go on a holiday, right? Somebody I'll have to drive her to work, or she'll have to go on holidays or something. I don't know, but my holidays are still on in the moment, you guys, right? Still got to put that roof over my head. Grateful again that I haven't been dipping into those funds, right? Trying to get those inched up so I can get a vehicle, right? If I could get myself a minivan or something, that would be so cool. That would make some good videos, wouldn't it? Right? Setting a minivan and tearing out the seats and everything and insulating it, and putting in a little kitchen and a bed and getting it ready for my retirement. Getting it ready for my retirement, get excited about retirement and hitting the road, right? Yeah. It's right. I'm manifesting it. I've been right. I'm visualizing me on the road. And it's not necessarily I have to be camping and out in the provincial parks or out on the road all the time just driving, but to find destinations, to have some planned adventures, to do some workshops and some seminars, and to connect with people that kind of like the stuff that I like to do, right? Network maybe a little bit. I don't know. Kind of like hanging out with myself. But again, I understand it's not healthy to always be hanging out by yourself. And even though, right, I have my YouTube channel, I know I do spend an awful lot of time by myself. But I'm monitored. I'm monitoring myself, right? Making sure physically, mentally, and emotionally that I feel good. Look at me drinking up my juice. I'm calling it juice only because, well, one thing I didn't mention when I said when I came to Winnipeg when I was 18 and I fell in love with it right away, but there was one thing I didn't love, and that was the water here. It tasted like chlorine. I come from British Columbia where the water comes from the mountains. It doesn't come from standing lakes or anything that has rivers flowing into, or anything basins and stuff. It comes straight from the mountains, and that the water is so clean. I never tasted that fluoride in the water in BC, but I sure noticed it instantly with my first glass of water when I came to this city. It was the only thing that I did not like about the city was the water. And even to this day, I do bottled water, and I have a hard time doing bottled water because I don't believe anybody should have to pay for water. I have a tap. I could drink that water, but I won't because it tastes right. I don't trust where it's coming from, the metallics in a tank and the chlorine in it. But I know it's not detrimental to me. I know it's not going to cause me any issues. It's a taste thing. It's like I don't like sushi, right? But what I can do is I can take a frozen juice container and I can plop it into my jug and I can fill it up with water. And it doesn't have to be to proportion. I'll fill it right to the top where there's barely any color to the juice anymore, right? Uh, just enough to take that flavor of the bleach away. I know it's funny, right? I am a funny girl in some ways, but that's okay. We each have to appreciate ourselves and our little idiosyncrasies. I have lots. I'm sure you guys have some too. Okay, I was going to say tonight that we were going to have a show and tell, but we only have a few minutes, so let's do the show and tell now. Where did I put it? When I was a kid, my I was probably about 10, 11 years old. My dad got a tip. The tip was to go up to Dawson Creek in northern British Columbia. They were going to build the Alaska pipeline just to go buy up some land, any land along the Alaska Highway, buy some land. The government was buying it all. My dad bought some land in Dawson Creek. And, 6 months later, he took us off that farm and he sold that land. He bought it for $14,000. 6 months later, we didn't do anything to that land except to put blankets up on the walls because you could see outside through the planks of the wood. He sold it for $314,000. He got $1,000 an acre for that land that he paid $14,000 for. And he upped all us kids out of school and he took us to Reno or Vegas. I can't remember. I think it was Reno. He took us to Reno and we lived in Reno, I think, for 3 months. And you know what happened in the span of 3 months? He plopped us in a motel and he gambled. Him and mom just, right? They just gambled, gambled, gambled until possibly he only had enough money to buy a new house, like to put a down payment on a new house. This was nothing new. This is the way my dad lived, and he enjoyed his life this way. But when we were living in Dawson Creek, uh, he he bought this house on top of a hill because we moved back to Dawson Creek, but not to the farm. He moved us back to that town, and on the top of the hill that it overlooked the entire city. The city was actually like a little village, but they had street lights, right? They had a cabs. They had cabs because my dad was still a cab driver. Um, but but uh, it was right above a hill that at the bottom of the hill there was a beer bottle station where you could go and turn in your beer bottles or your pop bottles. And right, as kids being feral, always looking for money to go to the movies or buy candy or comic books or whatever, we were always searching out the bottles. This one time, we walked down to the bottom of the hill because every once in a while, the beer store would be closed and people would just leave the beer bottles by the garbage bin or by the door or something because they had to get it out of the vehicle and they couldn't help it. The place closed before they left. And we go down the hill and there would be stacks of beer bottles and we would spend hours hauling all those cases of beer bottles back to the house. And then in the morning, we'd haul them all the way back down to the station, right? And we'd hand in all these beer bottles. And I remembered we made like maybe $100 or something one time with all these beer bottles and pop bottles that we turned in. But it was Christmas time, and we decided to use the money to buy our parents presents, to buy the family presents with that money, right? And so we went to the sporting goods store, and I remember buying my dad a fishing hunting knife, and I bought him this Now I'm only showing you this because I said that everything in my house is fairly new, that anything from the past I have gotten rid of, unless maybe it's a photograph, right? And my dad's plaque that I took when he passed away. But obviously, I took something else, and it was this little compass, and I probably didn't pay much for it. But it was in the 70s, so it's an imperial measurement. It's not even in a metric system, and I came across it today, and I thought, "Oh my goodness, the feelings that came to me when I see this, and I come across it because I used to keep it in my smalls cabinet, so whenever I put a new ornament in there or something, I would take a look at it and give me a fond memory of my father, right? And it was something that I didn't want to move on its way. I didn't want to pass it on to anybody because it was something specific that I had earned with my sweat of walking up and down that hill with all those beer cases and everything. That as entrepreneurs, right? Even as little kids, like I said, I was the oldest of the kids, and this was like all us girls doing this together. And I was maybe 10 or 11 years old at this time. And I was already babysitting. I was babysitting, so I was making money babysitting. I was I was cleaning yards. I was collecting beer bottles and pop bottles. Oh my goodness! I would go to secondhand stores and I would pick up radios, and I would knock on doors and I'd have little forms and stuff, and I'd say, "Oh, I want to pay 50 cents," and then you can enter in to buy this radio, and I had this radio inside a chocolate box that I wrapped up in wrapping paper and stuff, making it all professional. You can just see it was just an old beat up radio. But people were so sweet. People were so kind. I sold so many of those raffle tickets. In all honesty, right, as kids, I think probably we took advantage of our cuteness because we had Kool-Aid stands going on, dandelion bouquets, Christmas caroling. Oh my goodness, so many things that we did to make money, and we all did that. And we did quite well at that. So, optimistically, the reason I'm saying all of that is because optimistically, this reminded me today when I came across everything is going to be okay, Cindy, right? You found ways to buy Christmas presents for everybody as a little kid, right? That something will come across your path and it will be magnificent in the way it comes across your path. You've never had a problem manifesting the things that you want, right? It's not going to start now that things are going to kink up that way. They're only going to get better. But I only wanted to show that to you guys because I promised one time, right, that I would have little show and tell of items, and it surprised me, right? That when I said, I think it might have even been a last week or something in one of my live shows, that I said I don't have anything besides this plaque, right? It's the oldest thing I have in my house, and that belongs to me. And then I found this, and then there was something else that I came across, and I went, "Oh my goodness, this is from like when I was a little kid." Oh, that's what it was. It was those pages from that old book that I had used to carry around. I got rid of the book, but I kept the pages and that. Okay, you guys, I am blabbering away now. Oh my goodness, you guys, you never even said anything, and it's right at the end of my live, right at the end of my live show. So let's just say our goodbyes in here. But yeah, Eugene, nice to see that you're here. Oh, I like Irish soda bread. I do. I buy the soda bread, Irish soda bread, and I like the sesame seed rye bread. I really like that rye bread. I just like bread. all together. There's a new bread I've been getting into recently. It's called naan. It's an East Indian flatbread, and I've been using that naan, and I've been making like little fajitas on them, like putting banana peppers and cheese and tomatoes and green peppers and onions and sometimes bacon or ground beef on them. Oh my goodness, they're absolutely amazing. Just love them. Okay, you guys, I've already had dinner. Time to take in a couple of lessons. Finish my cold coffee. Gonna put my compass in my drawer, and yeah, call it a night. You guys want to come in and hang out with me? I'll be in sometime tomorrow going live. I don't know what the plan is specifically for tomorrow. I've been trying to get a hold of one of my sisters. She has been pretty tough in connecting with, but I'm not putting a lot of effort. Again, as much as I trust in what comes across my path, I also trust in what's avoiding coming across my path, right? You just got to pay attention to all of it. Okay, you guys, that's my great day, great night, and I call Sunday the end of my week because it is the end of my week. We start it all up tomorrow with what's my good cheer, and yeah, that's it. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next Sunday. Okay. I'll let you know if I find that Kleenex. I know it's around here somewheres.